guys, welcome back to another F9 TV video. And today we are talking about something that we will inevitably have to address at some point, at least with most of these guys. And at the end of last year, if you were around on my channel back then, I believe it was my last video of the year, I'd said that we're going to have some difficult decisions next year depending on how how well or underwhelming, I guess, we could perform in the season. Could be the last hurrah for a lot of the guys on the club. I'm not going to sit here and say we're an old team, but I think we are a prime team. And what I mean by that is a lot of our guys are in that prime age where it's either time to move up or move on. Of course, there's a lot of caveats to that, but I mean, just in general, I'm just speaking in vague terms here. So I'm going to address our loanee players last because I have the least amount to say about them because, a lot of times, even if we want them back, it's not necessarily in our hands whether we get them back, even if we were to make a good offer. But in general, we've got one goalkeeper, four defenders, two midfielders, and four forwards, if I've got this added up correctly, whose contracts are expiring at the end of this season. And that's a lot of players. That's a whole lot of players, actually. And I'm going to be using this website, so shout out to COD Almighty, to visually show on the screen what exactly I'm talking about. And I'm just going to start at the top with Seb Alden, and he's 18 years old. Contract expires this summer. He's currently on loan at Grimsby Borough, and depending on when this video, I think I'm going to release it tomorrow. Today's Saturday. So if this comes out tomorrow, I should say yesterday, but since I'm filming it today, I'm going to say he got a clean sheet today, which was awesome for his progress and his development. But keep in mind, we are a club that has ambitions of going up. So I'm going to give you two answers for each player, which is a League One and a League Two answer. And for Seb, my answer is kind of the same for both. Because whether we're in League One or League Two, I don't think he's going to be a contributor to the club, at least next year. He's a young prospect goalkeeper, right? I mean, that's unless you are, I don't know, unless you are a young phenom at 18 years old, you're the most important thing for you is to be developing and playing. And I think whether or not our decision to renew his contract is going to come down to, frankly, how he performs at Grimsby Borough. If he shows that he's not able to compete at that level, then maybe it's time to move on and let him chase his goals. Not necessarily with a different club, but just in a different way. And hopefully he succeeds, whether he's with the club or without the club. He seems like a great person. I've seen his family on my ex a few times. They seem like great people. Obviously, I hope he stays with us, but I'm not the one making these choices. And but in this scenario, League One or League Two, I think it just depends on how he performs this year at Grimsby Borough. So for that one, it's kind of a push. I don't really have a real answer for you yet. If he performs well, obviously, yeah, we need to renew him. If he just stinks it up, then I think it's time for him to chase his dream at a lower level. So that's all we have to say for goalkeepers. Let me go ahead and scroll up here a little bit and get the goalkeepers out of the way. It's up a little bit too far, I guess. So next, we're going to move to our defender category. And the first one we're going to mention is Cameron McJanet, or as I have been programmed to say, the McJanitor. Shout out to you on X. Frankly, I would argue he's our best player. His metrics are unbelievable. He's performing better than 90% of players in League Two for aerial duels, performing better than 86% of players for defensive contributions. in my opinion, he's one of these guys where we sign at all costs. Um, Unfortunately, I do think that if we don't get promoted, we may lose him. And that's just the reality of playing in League Two, right? McJanet seems like a great dude. He's 27 years old. He is in his prime, especially for a center back. I think he'd be a hell of a piece to have if we move up to sign to a longer term deal. And I think it'd be hard to keep him if we stay in League Two, but I think we should do everything in our power to try. And the next guy on our list is Harvey Rogers, who is, I believe, almost 29 years old. He's 28 currently. He wins the aerial duels a lot, creates chances, and he's not afraid to shoot. Um, Sometimes maybe he shoots too much. I think he's a great player. If we're in league, if we find ourselves in League Two next year, I think it's a no brainer that we re-sign him. And I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that if we get promoted, um, I and of course there's a lot of caveats to this. Depends on who's there in the market and things like this. But my initial thought is if we get promoted to League One, he's going to be one of these tough decisions that if I'm making the choice, I say we maybe pass on. And the reason why is because he's, in my opinion, a below average defender, and his strength is more moving forward. But when you step up a level, I think, especially for a club like us, I think defending is going to be something that we definitely can't go without from our back line. I don't know if I'm articulating that correctly, but if we go up to League One, I'm going to have to say a pass. And then we'll move on to our other defender, Doug Tharm, who's 26 years old. And look, he's fallen out of favor, right? The guy we're going to mention next has kind of taken his spot. I believe Doug Tharm could play currently right now, start right now on currently a lot of clubs. If we find ourselves again, like I said, in League Two, I think we should look into renewing his contract if we're going to miss out on some of our other guys. You know, for example, if Janet moves on, or if we're not able to get the next guy on our list. I think he's valuable. He still has some value in League Two, but we've got guys that have passed him, and but some of these guys that have passed him, their contracts are up too. So I think the value's there under certain scenarios. And if we go up to League One, it's just a no for me. There's too many guys out there, especially at 26, that we could sign that have played at higher levels. Now, oh man, the sun just came out and it is bright. I don't know if you can see that on the camera or not. But next guy, our final defender on the list is Tyrell Warren. And in my opinion, he's been our most improved player over the past year, especially moving to the center back role. And frankly, he's been one of the better defenders in the league, in my opinion. To me, I can't say enough good things about him. The fact that I've not personally heard any complaints for him, no matter where he's played at. He always gives it an A+ effort. Um, just like anybody, he's made a mistake here and there, but overall, he's about as solid as it comes, especially moving into the center back role. And obviously, he's still versatile. So for League One and League Two, I'm going to sit here and say I would comfortably say yes. We need to do everything to renew his contract, no matter where we end up at next year. So we'll move on to their two midfielders. Let me scroll up here a little bit on the screen. So for the midfield, we have a lot of our guys under contract for another year or two. But the two that we have coming to an end is Evan Corey and Georgie McEachran. And for Evan, to me, it's hard to believe he's still 22 years old. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, his pro debut was pre-COVID. That's how long it's been, and he's still 22 years old. He's a very nice defending midfielder. He takes his shots wisely, in my opinion. He doesn't overdo it like, say, Harvey Rogers does sometimes. Um, he's picky about his shots, and I think he makes good choices when to shoot, I think. And the thing about him being only 22 years old and having this much experience in the club is I think his best is yet to come. So for me, it's a yes for League One or League Two. And this is one of the easier yeses, in my opinion. Now, moving on to our next guy, Georgie. This might surprise a lot of people. So you take pretty much everything I said about Evan Corey, and you can apply it to George. And the only difference is I think is George is a lot more comfortable with the ball and making passes and touches. I think Evan Corey has a larger upside than George. George at this point is 25, I believe, going on 26. Um, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that if I'm making the choice, I sign him to a new deal and then try to sell him this summer. Why his value is still high. Because if we get promoted, I think he's one of the better League Two players, but I think in League One, he might just be average. And that's not a chance that I want to take on a going on 26-year-old midfielder who's honestly a little undersized. And that's why I would sign him, but I would instantly try to sell him this summer, and I would make sure that I got a good deal for him because I don't think his value is going to get much higher than what it is right now. And if he is on the squad and we get promoted to League One, obviously I'm going to support him to a T as much as I can, and I hope I'm wrong about everything I just said, but that's just my 2 cents. I've got to be honest. These are just my opinions. Doesn't mean they're correct, right? So now we're going to move on to our 4 forwards, which, man, do we have some decisions to make on our forwards. So let's go ahead and get Jude Soonsup Bell out of the way. I say because he has an option, and I say we pick up the option. Artel's protected him pretty well, I think, in his playing time. Seems like he's got all the potential in the world, but I haven't seen enough of him. But given his academy history, I think we'd be crazy not to pick him up for another year, especially with the potential that he obviously has. Uh, Other than that, he's not played enough for me to really say anything else about him, other than I have seen him get muscled off the ball a few times, but that's just going to be a learning curve, right? So to me, this is an easy pick up the option. He's only 21 years old. I mean, we have nothing to lose for picking that up. Now, our next guy, this is going to get some strong feelings, I believe, and that's Danny Rose, who turns 32 years old this year. So if we sign him to even if it's just a 1-year contract, it would be he'd be turning 33 during that contract, or 34 during the contract if we sign him for multiple years. Leadership and shithousery. That's what you're going to get with Danny. And that's a great thing to have when he's on your team. He means a lot to us, and I know that. And frankly, I think we mean a lot to him. Um, Seems like an amazing guy. Seems like just somebody you want in the dressing room. But the thing is, he's lost his spot to Kabia, and his role on the team, injury or not, I think his role on the team is never going to be what it once was unless Kabia gets hurt. If we find ourselves in League Two, I say we do try to re-sign him if the wages are correct and if it's at a good discount and if he knows that his role is not what it once was. For that, I would be fine. If we get promoted to League One, to me, this is a hard pass. It really is, and the reason I say that is because yes, he means a lot to us. He's one of my favorite players, if not my favorite player. But there's just too many veterans out there that are willing to take a role for minutes at a discounted rate in order to get more playing time to extend their career. To me, he's just, especially in League One, there's just too many other options out there than to overpay for him, if that makes sense. I hope I said that correctly. I hope that makes sense, my reasoning behind it. So, League One's a hard pass. League Two, it just depends on what kind of wages he wants. But if I know Danny, I'm going to assume that he probably wants to play, and perhaps at that point, maybe it is time to part ways. And I don't think any of us would wish any ill will on him and would wish him luck. Now, another guy that is going to have probably, well, the next two guys may have strong opinions on, and that's Jason Svan. I always have trouble saying his name. I'm sorry. Svan Thorson. Gosh, I struggle with that so bad. So he turns 26 this year. Um, this one's tough, to be honest with you. If he was if he was a little older, I would say no. He still has value, and Artel obviously still sees that. The fact that he still plays him is trying to get him up to speed. The injury timing was very unfortunate because we got to see a lot of our new guys play and lock down positions. This is a lot like Rose, in my opinion. If the wages are correct, I still think he's a good piece to have in League Two. If it's League One, I just think there would probably be better options out there for us. So I would pass if it's League One. And before I get to Charles Vernum, I want to say one thing. There's two guys on here that have birthdays, I think, like literally this week. One is Tyrell Warren, whose birthday is, well, as of this recording, tomorrow, so Sunday. And the other one is Charles Vernum, which his birthday is on the 8th. So that's just, what is the 8th? Let's see. That's on Wednesday. So if you get a chance, wish them both happy birthday. Um, but Charles Vernum, this one's going to be an easy one for me. It's just yes, yes. No matter where we are. To me, he's one of the best offensive players in the league. He's assists, cross, goals, playmaking, whatever you ask of him, he's above average at it, if not very good at it. To me, League Two, it's a no-brainer. League One, it's a no-brainer. You know, at the rate he's playing, my only issue would be is if somebody would overpay for him at the end of the season, kind of like Denver Hume last season. Um, he definitely seems like he is a player that has that Danny Rose mentality, right? It seems like he wants to make plays on the pitch, which is what I like about him. He's got a high motor and he makes smart choices. So for me, this one's a pretty easy yes for both leagues, but I do worry that if we stay in League Two, someone might overpay for him, and at that point, as much as we may not like it, these guys are trying to feed their families. They're trying to do better for themselves. I can't blame somebody for chasing money. Um, so there's my opinion on Charles. Now moving on to our three loanies, Casper, Odur, and what's the other one? Starts with an E. I forget who it is. I haven't seen much of him. Right here, Neo. Uh, I'm saying no on all three of these. And I say no on trying to make the deal permanent, just because I don't see a reason to make any of these guys permanent. My opinion on Odur has been pretty clear if you've watched any of my other videos or any of my lives. I don't think he's a bad player or anything like that. I just think there's just better options. Neo, I don't even remember anything about this guy, to be honest with you. Is that Eccleston? And then Casper, backup goalkeeper. Pim's going to be there for another year. I don't see any reason to keep him around. I do think we need a goalkeeper, but I don't think it's going to be Casper, especially when we have Seb. So, yeah, there is my conversations about the contracts that we have expiring. Um, that's just, it's just life in League Two, right? We get every now and then there's a year like this where half the team's contracts expires, and there's got to be a lot of choices made. Some guys are going to get better offers that they can't say no to. Um, some guys we're going to have to say no because there's better options out there. And then some guys are just going to fall out of favor with David Artell. So these are my opinions. Let me know what you agree with. Let me know what you don't agree with, and just let me know your opinions on these guys. Who can we not miss out on signing, and who would you let go? Let me know in the comments. And I appreciate everyone here's support as always. You guys are awesome for supporting me doing this. I'm just a random American who happens to love your town and your club, and you guys have made me feel loved. So I appreciate that so much. And shout out to everybody that has spoken to me and encouraged me to keep making videos. I appreciate you guys. And sorry, my video quality is kind of sucky right now. I don't have a good camera yet, but I don't know why I accidentally clicked on that. But anyhow, you guys have a great day. Whatever you're wanting to happen this week, I hope it comes true for you. Be safe, and hope to talk to you on X this weekend for the game. And I've got some videos coming out this week. Peace out, guys.